I never expected a cup of tea to change my life, especially when it came from the woman next door, the one everyone called Mrs. Parker. To most, she was just the quiet widow who tended her garden and waved from her porch every morning. To me, she was the reason my mornings felt less empty. Every sunrise, right after I left my apartment door half open for the breeze, she'd appear with that same soft smile, a steaming cup in her hand, saying, "You look like you could use a bit of warmth today." And somehow, that warmth always found a way to reach my heart. But one morning, she brought something more than tea. Something that would change everything I thought I knew about her and myself. When I first moved into that old neighborhood, I wasn't exactly looking for friends. I had just gone through a breakup that drained me of everything: love, hope, even the will to talk to anyone. I buried myself in work, ignoring the laughter of families around, pretending the silence in my small house didn't hurt. Then one morning, there was a soft knock on my door. I opened it to find Mrs. Parker standing there with a porcelain cup, steam curling up like a shy whisper. "You looked a bit pale yesterday," she said. "Try some of this. It's my special blend." I didn't even like tea back then. But I drank it, mostly to be polite, and before I knew it, that became our routine. Every morning, she'd bring tea, we'd sit on my small porch, and she'd tell me little stories about her late husband, the war, and her younger days dancing in the rain. I listened because her voice made everything sound lighter. I started noticing the details about her: the way her hands shook slightly when she poured, the way her eyes wandered toward the park where kids played, her smile that seemed to hide 1,000 memories. There was something comforting in her presence, like she carried all the pain I didn't have words for. She never pried into my life, but somehow, she always knew when I was breaking. "People think silence means peace," she told me once. "But sometimes it's the loudest scream." I didn't answer, but she knew I understood. Weeks passed, then months. My mornings weren't empty anymore. I'd wake up early, comb my hair, even shave, just to make sure I didn't look like the lost man I'd been when she first knocked on my door. She became my reminder that kindness still existed, that maybe the world wasn't as cold as I'd convinced myself it was. And then, one morning, she didn't come. I waited, half an hour, an hour. The porch was quiet, her window curtains still drawn. A small fear began to creep inside me. I wanted to go knock, but something held me back, maybe pride, maybe fear of what I'd find. When the sun began to sink that day, I finally walked over. Before I could knock, her door opened. There she was, holding the same porcelain cup, but this time, her hands trembled more than usual. "Good morning," she said softly, though it was already late afternoon. "Sorry I'm late." I smiled awkwardly, about to make a joke, but then she held out the cup and I froze. There was no tea. Instead, she handed me a small envelope, slightly wrinkled and sealed with a faded red sticker. "This," she said, "is what I was supposed to bring you today." Her voice was faint, but her eyes, those warm, honey-colored eyes, were steady. "Promise me you'll read it after I leave." That night, I sat on my couch, envelope in hand, wondering why my heart was pounding like I already knew what was inside. I tore it open and unfolded a single piece of paper. Her handwriting was delicate, shaky but beautiful. She wrote, "I don't know how much time I have left, but I didn't want to leave without saying thank you. You thought I was the one helping you heal. But the truth is, you helped me remember what it feels like to be alive again. After my husband died, I stopped making tea, stopped talking to anyone. Until you moved in. You reminded me that even after loss, warmth can return. I saw myself in your loneliness. I brought you tea because I didn't want you to go cold like I did. But now, I must go rest. Promise me you'll keep the kettle warm for someone else who might need it." I don't remember crying that night. I just remember the silence, the kind that wasn't heavy anymore, but full. The next morning, her house was quiet again, but this time the curtains were drawn forever. She had passed peacefully in her sleep. The neighbors left flowers on her porch, but I left something else, a cup of tea. Weeks turned into months. The porch felt empty, but her presence lingered in the small things: the clink of a spoon, the scent of jasmine, the warmth of the first sip in the morning. One day, as I sat there with my cup, I noticed a young woman moving into the house next door. She looked tired, lost, much like I once did. Our eyes met briefly. Without thinking, I stood up, walked inside, and came back with a steaming cup. "You look like you could use a bit of warmth," I said, and when she smiled, for a brief moment, I could almost hear Mrs. Parker's gentle laugh carried by the wind. That's the thing about kindness, it doesn't end when someone leaves. It lingers in every small act, every shared moment, every cup of tea offered to a stranger. Sometimes, what someone brings to your door isn't just a drink, it's a reminder that you're still capable of feeling, still capable of love, still capable of beginning again.